Hey everyone, welcome to the monthly Metro MSP Cybersecurity Executive Briefing. With me today, I've got one of our cyber experts, Darren Swan, who pretty much knows how to secure pretty much anything in the world. And I bring that Darren does a lot to keep people safe and go from there. So just while we're waiting for people to get in, I just want to make sure that everyone can hear me. So if someone can comment in the Q&A section, I think the chats are disabled. Just comment in the Q&A section that you can hear me, and we'll get started. I also got Anthony in the background from Metro MSP, my business partner, who is running the board and fielding questions. So like I said, just go down into the Q&A section and just post a quick question, and perfect. Thank you, Jim and Amanda. Great. Anyway, perfect. So Darren, it's another month. It's another month of breaches and security issues, and why don't we just jump right into what we got here, because we do have a tight time frame. We're looking at 20 minutes, and then we'll do some Q&A.
Yeah, for sure. No, appreciate it, Bob, and thank you everybody for your time. I love the curiosity and interest, around what's happening in our world of protecting what we care about. Most importantly, no one's going to do it for us. So we better take ownership and accountability to do it ourselves. And, what we're going to go through is really just kind of updating you all on what's happening in the world of cybersecurity, and not in a way that's scary and fear bound, right? This is more of an educational update and understanding of what's happening, why it's happening, how it's happening, and frankly, what we can do about it, right? That's the most important thing. So I've been around the block myself. I've worked at Dell and HP and all sorts of big brands and companies, and cybersecurity is really protecting our GDP. It's protecting our friends, our families, our neighbors, our small businesses, our medium-sized businesses, and that is the backbone of our economy, period. It is. In every major metro, every country around the world, it is the small and medium-sized enterprise business that runs our country's success. So we are under siege and been under siege. And I think of like even my family members, my aunts, my uncles, my mom and dad, all these different things. My wife, everybody's getting hammered personally, even, right? So you get this smishing stuff. My wife sent me one yesterday. It was, oh, you bought another MacBook. That's the second
there
one
you go.
this month.
I got 2 calls from the cable company wanting me to get new boxes yesterday too.
Never ending. So anyway, we're going to kind of go through what's going on and then look ahead, just what we're seeing trend wise and what the threat actors are pivoting towards and leveraging new technologies, and then what an adaptive security strategy looks like, right? Just kind of share what that, how that, looks for the business. And then importantly, Q&A. We want to hear from you. What's that itch you've got around cybersecurity that we can help scratch? We want to make sure we're giving you guys the knowledge too.
Absolutely.
Right. So next slide is the world's changed, right? And go ahead, please.
Okay, hold on. So I've got a few people on the call this week who don't know who Metro is and don't know about me. So I figured I'd just throw a quick slide in. And Metro MSP is a company that I started with my business partner Anthony back in 2010 to really help businesses manage and mitigate risk. And during that time, I've had some success. We've had a lot of successes with clients, but I've also had some really good press. During COVID, everything got locked down, so I wrote a book, and we actually that book went to Amazon bestseller status. And for people that hang around to the end, I will have a way for you to get a copy of that book online, and we'll go from there. But one of the things that Darren was kidding me about in the green room about this was, I've got Omni Magazine listed here. Most of the people on this call probably don't know what Omni Magazine is. Omni Magazine was a technical innovation magazine back in the 80s. And I was referenced in it. And we, based on reading it, I think it documents the very first successful phishing attempt that I did back in 1984. So
yeah. I asked Bob to put the picture of the sandy-haired kid from New Jersey that was referenced there.
Yeah, and during COVID, I also got referenced in Good Housekeeping magazine as a cyber expert. But I then managed to do a a private Shark Tank type event, pitch contest with Kevin O'Leary. So moving
Cool.
on.
Awesome. Thanks, Bob. Yeah, so where we're at right now is, we've all implemented a ton of technology and a lot of IT infrastructure, right? So a lot of things that we work to keep the lights on and we keep working. Um, so that's traditional IT stuff, right? That's your internet service, that's your laptops, that's your network, that's your systems, and so on and so forth. So the world has been focused on implementing, things that's going to improve business, right? We work to keep those lights on for sure, right? We want to make sure people's, systems and machines and all that stuff does what it's supposed to be doing. More importantly, going back up, sorry, is keeping the business doors open for business. That's what matters most. This is where cybersecurity comes in, right? This is where we need to protect the front door, the back door, the cat door, the garage door, the chimney, all these different
Yep.
entry points of the business, which is all your technology stuff and your people stuff, right? And I always say, like, hey, you knock on wood is not a cybersecurity strategy. Cybersecurity insurance policies is not a cybersecurity strategy, right? We need something that we all feel confident and good that we've done everything we could to protect the business, to keep the doors open. There's a saying of every organization and every business has some form of quote to cash, right? Some form of products and goods and services that's delivered to the end user customer, where there's people that do that delivery. There's systems that people touch to go make sure that delivery happens. There's data that's accessed, right? Revenue generating line items of business, and then cash, right? And so we want to make sure nothing is disrupted in there, right? When you think of the revenue generating line items of your business, what would hurt the most? If there was something catastrophic, what could be stolen that could destroy, right? So anyway, let's go to the next slide. All right, threats are evolving every
Sure.
single day, right? Cat and mouse game. We know it. We get better, they get better. We get better, they get better. We get better. That's it. That's the reality that we operate in. So we need an adaptive security strategy that fights the good fight with the threat actor, that pivots and changes and improves, that continues the checks and balances to make sure things are working, that we can objectively demonstrate, through data that we actually did our job, right? That's what I want to know. I want to know, like, my operational functions, my delivery functions, my financial functions, my customer data. I want an executive dashboard that everything is tight. I can go to bed, sleep, and be peaceful. The other piece is the industry is massive for threat actors. It's a massive industry. And so they are really operationally professional. They are like Fortune 4 is what it comes down to. North Korea, Iran, Russia, and China, the Fortune 4 of the threat actor industry that set up $1 trillion of threat actor infrastructure to go after us. 65% of small, medium-sized businesses are the target because the barrier is low. So they've segmented their cybersecurity threat actor landscape into sub-industries. So you have people that just focus on getting session tokens, that's your MFA token, and credentials to buy access. So there's an industry of people just buying access of your identity and your stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then there's an industry of people that will actually do the attacks. Then there's an industry of people actually will go down the ransom and go down the extortion and go down. So they've segmented this industry up, and then they have marketplaces in the dark web, and some of them have them just straight up on the internet that, FBI, CIA, everyone keeps trying to shut down, but they keep popping up.
So these guys are well organized, segmented, and have a playbook for how to make things happen, huh?
It's amazing. Yeah. And it's not, that you might be intentionally directly targeted. That might not be the whole effort. It could be somebody else, that hits you, right? That you're friendly with.
Sure.
So it's gotten very, very wild out there. The other is that first
Well,
slide that go ahead.
we actually saw that last week. And then the week before last, we had a client that with a they received an email that they were expecting, and turns out the person they received it from had been compromised. And they clicked the link, and the bad guys got in. And we see this over and over again. But this case, the bad guys had, like you said, they're organized. They had a playbook because within 10 hours they actually acquired the entire mailbox. and
Yeah,
downloaded it, and then we had to go through with and went through with the team to figure out exactly what they did when they got there.
it's amazing. I had one, that we came across last week as well, and it was it was a private equity firm for a manufacturing firm that acquired another manufacturing firm. And the first thing that the manufacturing firm did when they acquired that asset is they're like, we just acquired this manufacturing firm. Yay, let's celebrate. They're part of our family of, manufacturing firms now. And guess what the threat actor did? That was already inside. Put out their hand, like, cool, great, $50 million transaction. Give me a little piece of that pie.
Give me the pie. Yep.
That totally hose it. So now that private equity firm is like, okay, so before we actually announce the acquisition, why don't you guys come in and make sure it's clean and tight before we do that press release? We're like, yeah, that's a very good idea. We'll do that.
Yeah.
The other thing that's important here is because of the technical slide that we shared earlier, the IT infrastructure, your cloud, your Microsoft, all that stuff is, that complexity around that, right? And what's happened is in this industry of IT services and secure IT services is the IT service providers, a lot of them are behind. They aren't emphasizing the security side. Security matters most, right? And that's why
Sure.
Bob and his expertise is so critically important, because at the end of the day, if you can't operate and if you get a compromise and you get a ransomware, you get extortion, that hurts everybody. Your customers, your suppliers, your employees, your workforce, your delivery of products and goods. It hurts the partnership you have with a company like Bob too, right? So we need to do everything we can to make sure we're doing everything we can to protect the business. Right. Next slide, and I'll be mindful of time here because tight window.
Yeah, we are tight.
$10.5 trillion of damages forecasted this year. $10.5 trillion of damages. $10.5 trillion. That's a lot, right? We all know the deficit number. It's like a
Yeah,
third
right.
here. But that's how much money they make in hurting us. That's insane. Last year we saw an increase by 558% of business email compromises. We found 5,000 servers operating in the United States of America conducting business email compromises at scale, not triggering the normal traditional security tools everybody knows and loves. They figured out ways to get around those things, right? But
Cat and mouse game.
cat and mouse game. But here's the thing. They were operating in the United States for 2 years undetected. 2 years undetected. It's insane, right? So there's a couple data points. Cybersecurity truly does become a competitive advantage for your business. It does. And I think cybersecurity is a core business value that everybody should embrace, because everybody's got to lock their car doors, roll up their windows, lock their front door, because no one's going to do that for us. And there's always an opportunistic, security, threat actor out there, right? So, doing some research, about 64, 65% have a more confident relationship with you if you are forward with the way you're protecting your business, the way you're protecting your customers' data, right? That's a fact, right? So different industries have different percentiles, but if you're a financial services firm, if you're a dental firm, if you're a nonprofit firm and I'm giving you money and you're protecting my donor data and you're, making sure that doesn't get leaked, all these different things, there's a confidence factor that's, conveyed to your customer, right? So 64, 65% is more likely to do business with you because of that trust factor. You're just forward with it. The other piece, and we've all received the letters, especially this last year, right? I'm sorry, your data was compromised.
For me, it was the letter of the month at one point.
Yeah. And Bob, it's funny. I know we were kind of tight on time, but during my family events, I was talking about, hey, everybody, really quick. I did a little soapbox, and I'm like, all your data is compromised, all your social security number, all your voting, all your donations, all the things you've ever done, all of it is out there on the dark web. And I go, please, 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 please change your passwords. Anyway, the other data point is 85% is likely to never do business with you ever again if you're the one who has to ship out that letter. Think about that. My CPA, I'm uploading all my financials. If they had like, we protect your data, we secure your data, we take data privacy and security seriously, my confidence factor goes up. If I'm a nonprofit and I've got donor, I want to make sure I'm protecting that donor data, because if that donor data gets popped, every single state in the union requires you to send a notice to your customers that their data was compromised. If I'm donating money to you and my data is compromised and now I'm getting nagged from a threat actor, I'm never going to give you money again.
So the other thing we're seeing too on those letters now is, you've heard all the jokes about the ambulance chasing lawyers for accidents, but now the lawyers are chasing these letters, and we just saw a class action suit in New Jersey against a law firm that sent out the notice. And
Yep.
when they really dug into what that firm wasn't doing the right thing, it was not a good year for those guys.
Nope. Cool. Let's go next. All right. So your ecosystem, your systems, your infrastructure, there's a lot of things inside of your world if there's an event that is impacted. So we're going to move on from this, but there's reputational risk, your brand disparagement. If you're a manufacturing company in a local community and you get taken down, the customers get pain, the other manufacturing companies are going to weaponize that event to their advantage, right? If you're a credit union, people can't get access to your money, the other credit union is going to weaponize that to their advantage, right? So this is that notion of, hey, that risk, if you're doing the right thing, because becomes a competitive advantage. But there's a wheel here of what the impacts are and the details are, right? If something does happen to your business and the impact of it. So let's go to the next slide. Everybody's a risk to each other. This is an important one because, I hear a lot of times like, hey, I'm not there. Why would they target me? Why would they target me? Why would they target me? Thanksgiving happened this last, November, right? And there was a manufacturing company that was invested by a venture capital firm to expand their operations. And the venture capital firm managing partner got hit. They got hit by the cleaning person for their building. They were in the middle of negotiating a new contract for the cleaning service for their building.
There you
That
go.
got dirty. That got dirty. The managing partner of the venture capital firm got hit. And guess who sent a request to the CFO of their investment, the manufacturing company, for $281,000, right?
Crazy.
So that's how terrible and easy it is, because they get someone, and it could be a customer, supplier, vendor, who knows? They get someone and then they wait. They hide out. They wait for that opportunistic moment of where there's a transaction or something that they can insert themselves and hijack it and change the dialogue or change the situation to where you're like, hey, Bob and I talk all the time. And all of a sudden I get an email about Bob wanting to go upload and download and go do this presentation. And I go click it. I'm like, oh, I got to put my credentials in again, and all that stuff. And boom, you got
Yeah,
got.
Darren, just to clarify that for everybody, these are not look-alike emails. This isn't like
Whoa.
somebody setting up a new domain and sending an email that looks like Bob at Metro MSP. It's someone using that person's email account because they're sitting in it. We had another one. It was a $200,000 loss for somebody that was opening up a new retirement account personally. She got an email from the financial services firm to fund the account. The only problem is the bad guys were typing.
Yep. Cool. So let's go next, and then we'll go to Q&A. All right, one more. All right. So there is an approach here, right? What we need to do is we have to protect that device. We have to prevent bad things from getting on that device. I call it the dirties, right? You don't know if a kid gets a hold of it and, gaming, whatever, right? We want to make sure that device is protected always, that nothing can be jammed that's going to be nasty on it. The next piece that we do is the internet is bad. So click that. The internet is bad. The internet is how they get you. We want to make sure that you're no longer reachable by the internet. The internet cannot reach you. That's a very important technology. Your team members can still get access to the internet, but we can make sure they don't go to the bad, nasty places, right? But we don't want them to get inside of you. The next piece is that we can lock down all of your Microsoft and your SaaS and your cloud, your donor data system, your file share systems. We can make sure that Microsoft is not internet accessible as well, except for by your teams. Very important, because business email compromise, like I said earlier, has gone up 558% year over year. That's how they're getting the most. That's the front door, right? The other thing too is everyone's like, oh no, I'm in the SaaS, I've got cloud. I always say, read sections typically 11, 12, or 13 limits of liability and indemnifications. If you get your identity stolen and the threat actor gets access to your donor data system and steals the data and takes down the system, that's not the SaaS cloud provider's fault. It's yours. You're on the hook. So we can lock all that down so that bad actors can't touch it. The next piece is we need to watch all the time. We need to threat hunt all the time. So we have a method that will continuously go search for bad activities. And it could be insider. You never know. Someone downloading, deleting, forwarding, stealing, destroying, someone accessing something they probably shouldn't, but also people trying to get into that front door, jiggle the knob, pick the lock. We want to make sure we see those folks and stop it too with a 24/7 response team that just takes it down. Pops up, we take it down. The last point is,
I think a lot of people don't even realize that they've got their cloud systems out there, and people from all over, bad guys from all over the world are trying to log into your accounts all the time, and we can see it
all the time. The last piece is the regulators, the bureaucrats, Washington or state level, you name it, and cyber risk insurance is a year to 3 years behind, sometimes 5 years behind the threat actor's sophistication. So compliance is an extreme laggard. Yes, we have to comply, but is so far behind the sophistication of the threat actors, we have to make sure that knife blade is sharp to protect and fight the fight with the threat actors. That's why it's so important to have the right partner and the right cybersecurity strategy to protect the business, to make sure those bad things don't happen in the first place. Cool. Why don't we go ahead and open it up to Q&A?
Cool.
Oh, I guess really quick look ahead, and I'll just do a short summary of this. The future. What I'm most worried of, there's a big boom literally in mini nuclear powered data centers to drive AI with quantum computing. We haven't even begun to even fathom what's going to happen in the next generation of threat actors with the next generation of technology. So buckle up. We're going to fight the fight, but it's not getting better. Let's just say that. All right, Q&A.
So I see a question here from Paul. Let me just publish it. As you're working with your clients and prospective clients and your experience in and out of SMEs, what percentage actually have separate cyber insurance policies? This is actually from Paul, who sells cyber insurance. But Paul, we see a lot. We see it all over the place. A lot of people they get that business policy, they get their regular BOP policy that has $25,000 worth of cyber insurance thrown in, and I tell people the story. I can't tell people how much cyber insurance they should have, but I can tell them that cyber forensics gets very expensive very fast. We worked on one small incident, and he had cyber insurance, and it was a $35,000 investigation for a five user group on Office 365, and he had a $10,000 deductible. It was a $10,000 loss. So, it was a $45,000 incident, and luckily he had insurance. But business wise, that's something they need to consult with their agents on what they need. We actually strongly recommend at least $1 million. And I know I talked to one agent recently, said the insurance agencies are saying don't even sell $1 million anymore, start at $2 million.
Well, and with the insurance conversation too, the insurance market is interesting, right? And so part of the insurance, there's, what Bob does with us is we can work towards a discount on your cyber risk insurance policy, because remember that notion of like cyber insurance and the regulatory compliance is behind what the threat actors are doing. Because the effectiveness and the adaptive nature of the security strategy, there's an opportunity for a cyber insurance discount and warranty, right? Because of this service being in place.
Right, and it's actually a work in progress right now, but most agents will be able to sell what we're looking for to actually get those discounts.
Broker. Yep, so, exactly.
Hopefully, Paul, that answered your question. Andrew on this had a question. Is like, can you repeat the story about the VC firm and how they lost $280,000? I think you said.
Yeah, it was the manufacturing company had a venture capital firm that did an investment to help them scale operations. the building cleaning service, the managing partner was supposed to sign off on the building cleaning service contract, but the building cleaner was compromised. Their email box was compromised, and they sent so it's stole the session tokens and it stole credentials of the managing partner of the VC firm. And then in the email thread of the VC firm and the CFO of the manufacturing company was a payback of some of that investment. And so they changed the routing numbers, and it was a threat actor that hijacked the managing partner to go send that email with different routing. I'm not kidding. On Thanksgiving Day, the CFO wired $281,000 on Thanksgiving Day.
That's crazy.
Now, the best part is that because it was during Black Friday and stuff like that, they were able to stop the transfer, and the CFO didn't get fired for that, for not following live protocol on a phone for that kind of a wire. But yeah.
And that's actually a really good point that people, one takeaway I hope everyone gets from this today is make sure that you have manual processes and live pick up the phone and validate who you're talking to and who you're sending money to.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Cool. I think Anthony's got some questions that came in ahead of time.
I've got one here. How often should I update my business's cybersecurity?
It's a continuous update. I mean, I think part of it is you're working with a partner that is mindful and in tune with the market changes and how things are adapting by vertical, right? Every vertical can be different too, right? So everything's got different risk and different targets. So last year, healthcare was hammered. Healthcare was the highest target. It was like 335% more than any other industry because they were going after the EMRs as an example, because EMRs hurt the most. And then we saw K through 12 because they went after the data of the students and the parents and the teachers. So there's different shifts. So you need somebody that's mindful of and paying attention to and educated and continues to seek to understand that, make sure that the right strategy is in place. So it's a continuous leveling up, let's say.
I know we've got a couple more questions. We're coming up on the bottom of the hour. I just want to share this link on the screen. If anyone wants to sit down and have a cyber strategy session, talk about what they're doing, or talk about, have some ideas, or even one just want to bounce an idea off me, go ahead and schedule a call, and we can talk. Also, when you schedule a call, the last page after you book that time, there is a link to get the Cybersecurity Minefield book. It's right there, and you can view it immediately. Cool. Anthony, I think you got more questions.
This is one that we hear pretty often. It's I'm not a fan of MFA. Why must I deal with this?
Yeah, MFA is pretty much it's mandatory by every cyber risk insurance policy. All regulatory compliance. It's just a standard, right? You need to have a door lock. Most importantly, you have to verify your identity. It is surprisingly how many organizations don't do MFA. It's just leaving your door unlocked and cracked open, frankly, right? And so we all are used to it. How do you get access to your bank? How do you get access to your, anything financial, anything critical services, heck, sometimes even eBay, right? It's just a standard. We have to do it. And I had a CEO once where they're like, I hate MFA, I hate MFA, I hate MFA, right? And then I showed, hey, well, guess what? You just did a webinar to all your customers, and there was China, North Korea, 310 attacks towards you right after that webinar. He's like, okay, never mind. I love MFA.
And the other thing about MFA is, like the insurance companies now requiring it. Last year, was a year before last, Travelers took a firm to court and threatened them with insurance fraud because they said they had MFA everywhere and didn't. So that was $1.5 million claim that got denied in court. You can Google it. It's Travelers versus ICS. But it's out there, and we need to comply with it. And then somebody just chimed in, and Paul saying, and fileless attacks. If people really want to know what they are, a fileless attack is when the bad guys are using all the tools that are sitting on your computer already. They're not downloading something new. They're figuring out how to weaponize what you have. You kind of think of it as an IED, an improvised improvised bomb, and so that's what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's Microsoft, probably the most prolific technologies on the planet, right? And so the threat actors, have a big target on them and figuring out ways to weaponize Microsoft against itself. So from the operating system and in the memory and in the processes, and Microsoft uses this technology called PowerShell, right, to execute different commands and things like that. A lot of software does too. That's what a threat actor wants to get, because that's where they can go hidden and do kind of operating system level kind of activities that don't get detected typically till we find them.
Cool. Well, if anyone's going to drop off, that's fine. I know we got a few more questions, so we'll keep going.
Here's one that we hear kind of often. It's how do I make sure my vendors and partners aren't a weak link in my security?
Great question. So, Bob, you've got a security assessment you can perform, I think.
We do have a security assessment. We use a risk assessment questionnaire for assessing vendors to ask them the right questions. Or in some cases, depending on who that vendor is, we can actually go in and do the assessment with them for them. But it's a mix. When I actually did manage to go help do the assessment on that financial services firm I was talking about earlier, and we did find a lot of stuff. And the fact that the MFA was not enabled, and the owner of the firm had access to every single email, just one click away.
Yeah, and I think importantly, it's cybersecurity now is at a point where they should be able to objectively demonstrate that they are, through data and through reporting, that they are doing everything they can to protect your systems and that your systems are clean right now as we speak. Right? We can show the receipts. I want to see it. Show me the data. How do you know my key executives aren't compromised right now? How do you know my Microsoft 365 is not compromised right now? How do you know my network's not compromised right now? How do you know my endpoints aren't compromised right now? How do you know my cloud-based, SaaS-based systems aren't compromised right now? If your current provider can't demonstrate that through data and is not regularly doing that with you, question marks above the head.
Hey, Roy, I see your hand raised. If you have a question, go ahead and drop it in the Q&A, and we'll get it, because we're not set up for live chat.
So while we're waiting for that, you want another one?
Yeah, I've got another one that's here. What are the legal or financial risks I can face if my business gets breached?
Do you have insurance?
Yeah.
That's
I was at an event in Texas, and a business leader asked, he's like, okay, Darren, I get it. I got to protect my business. How do I convince my CEO? And I go, it's pretty simple. It's a math equation. Think of quote to cash. How long can you not operate until you can't operate anymore? Right. And so the legal ramifications are, from the regulatory compliance that might fall in scope for what you provide and deliver, financial services, healthcare services, legal services, and so on. But then it's also the brand disparagement that might also hurt, because you had to send that letter out to the customer, and what customers are going to want to continue that relationship, who knows? But there's a significant that may drop because they feel violated. And then there's insurance costs that are going to go up. There's all sorts of different things, so it's typically, on average, I think it's a $40,000, for a small business cost. But it goes up in order of magnitude as the business size goes up. So I'd be more, outside of that financial risk for that, I'd be more concerned about, if a threat actor gets hold of data, crown jewels, something that could kill my business and destroy my business, than I would the other legal ramifications I could possibly have. So it's thinking about, what is those data sets, those key intellectual property, that customer, whatever it is, that if a threat actor got a hold of it, it could just kill me. It could destroy my company.
Yeah, and the other thing is what was the question again? I got sidetracked.
It's just legal ramifications.
The legal ramifications. Well, the legal on the legal side, if you are running old stuff and you're not taking any attempts to really secure that environment, it's going to open the doors even deeper because the guys are going to look at it and say, you know, you're not adequately protecting your customer data. So cool. Think that's all the questions?
I've got one more question.
Okay.
If my business gets hit with ransomware, what's the first thing I should do?
Right?
Might be very responses here, but first thing you should do, call your partner, obviously, right? Bob here to make sure we can go make that. We can't make that determination is really what it comes down to. And you can't make that determination. What I mean by that, just like you, when you call your car insurance and they ask if you ever been in an accident, you're like, yeah, I was in a fender bender. Boom. You know, checkbox, black mark. You're now scarred for life with your insurance carrier. So what you do is you call your insurance carrier and you say, I think there's been an incident, and that is it. And you hang up. Don't say you've been breached. Don't say you've been ransomed, because you don't know. Even though you may have gotten a ransom demand, you just, who knows? It could have been a pop-up. Right? I don't know. You're not the expert. You just make that call and then you effectively hang up. But then you have to work with your partner, like Bob here and team, to go, you know, do the investigation with their security services, you know, team members to see if there actually in fact is an event that requires next steps.
I mean, like, you know, Dan said, the short list of people is the IT guys, the insurance company, and your attorney. That's where we recommend people start looking at, because you start with the IT guys, like, yeah, we can do a quick look and see is it really an incident with a lowercase I or a capital I, and like Dan said, did you just get a pop-up? Because we see them all the time. You know, people get to a lookalike website and they just get that pop-up site and it's like done. Okay, we restart the browser, we move on. That wasn't a major incident to worry about. So so that's what we got. Again, I will let me just put the QR code back on the screen if somebody to schedule a strategy call. And I'd like to thank everybody for joining us this week. Actually, this month, the cybersecurity executive briefings are the fourth Wednesday of every month, and we'll make sure that everyone gets an invite for the next one. Thank you, Darren, for joining us today.
Thank you all. Appreciate your time.